Okay folks, it's the next day. I ran out of light a little bit yesterday and battery as well, so I just decided to give it another shot today. Let's see how the light is. I hope it's not too bright, folks. Let's turn it down a little bit. There's a lot of snow around me here. So the question for me was, it's just more of a demonstration than it is actually a test, because this is such a proven design. I mean, like, when we're talking about, now it's a little bit dark again. Let's see. I hope this is good like that, folks. And let's stay the focus. When it comes to this kind of design, I mean, like, this is so proven over time by different cultures, I would nearly say. French trade axes look very much like this. I have actually a French craft axe that is actually from France, not from North America. That looks very similar, and this is an absolutely not researched theory of mine, but these axes in France looking very similar to what we know as a bearded Nordic axe, and as well in parts of Russia and Eastern Europe. I think is possible to trace back all the way to the Norsemen, or the Vikings raiding and exploring all parts of Europe. And it's also just a very efficient and effective design. And I want to talk about efficiency and effectiveness in a minute again. Let's first focus here. I think we're in focus right here. So what am I doing now? Actually, I just wanna. There's a couple of pieces of dry firewood that I would think would perform very similarly to what we would find in the bush. The reason why I'm not outside right now, doing this outside, is purely that I'm in Austria and I'm not just supposed to go outside and chop stuff down. It's quite difficult to find a place where you can just work in the woods. Differently from Canada, where as far as I know, in Crown land you're at least allowed to take dead wood and stuff like that. So yeah, we got some pine here, and this one I just want to split a little bit smaller because this is definitely too big to do fire with. So let's say this is just like a one stick fire, and I just gonna process down that piece of dry pine with this axe. First, let's do just some splitting. Either I can just split it this way, or I can of course take another piece of wood. But this performs of course really well for that, having this convex grind. Another thing, I hope we're having good light here, folks. As you can tell, I'm really trying to improve on my lighting, so nobody actually has a bad time watching my videos. Another thing, and now we're actually coming to the efficiency. When we do carving, and we're gonna look at that a little bit later, the carving part of this, because I say this is really like an overall craft axe, and I would have never thought this is gonna become such a favorite of mine. But the simple handle construction without a lot of curves and everything is actually very efficient and very easy to control, because I just got a 90-degree angle here. As soon as I have curved handles and everything, I'm gonna excel at the slicing, just because I have to drop the axe like this, you know, and because of the curved handle kind of upswept, I'm automatically getting kind of a, instead of a 90-degree angle, I'm kind of getting a 45-degree angle, which is of course catering rather towards the slicing, which is very important when I'm carving. However, for other chores, and with this rather short blade, I mean, like, this is no short blade by any means when it comes to like hatchets, compared to like the wildlife hatchet or something, but compared to my carving axes, I got maybe an inch or two lasts. Like I haven't measured this yet, it's gonna go into the description, but I would say we got here 3.5, just measuring it with my Spyderco Paramilitary 2, just in case you guys wondering what I'm carrying. So 3.5 inches we got here, 3.5 probably, close to 4, which is really nice. However, we got quite a long distance here, and now we're getting actually quite into a detailed consideration about the axis, and I'm gonna make a whole video about just this point. Efficiency and effectiveness. When I'm having an axe for a certain chore, getting this chore done means to be effective, because I'm working towards a certain goal. However, the efficiency is basically in calculation, and in my rather simple mind, the calculation is the outcome of the action divided by the time and the labor, so to say, that goes into it. So let's say I have a certain amount of work that I got done, and then I have a big amount of work and a big amount of time that went into it. So I have to divide the outcome, whatever it is, by time and work. And the smaller the number that comes out in the end, the less efficient the axe is, you know, if that makes any sense. So I'm getting to a certain effect of work, and then I have to divide it by how much work and labor I put into it, you know. If I didn't put a lot of labor and work into it at all, because my design is so efficient, then I'm coming out with a way bigger number in the end. And this number is, for me, the efficiency. I hope that makes sense. It's just like a very crude and simple calculation. So we have a rather short blade compared to the distance here. When we look at a lot of my carving axes, the distance here, so let's say from the pole, or rather actually from the end of the eye to the edge, is rather short and compact, but the blade is rather wide. That means I can pack a lot of blade length into a rather light axe, first of all. The second thing is I have a lot of stability, because my hand and the edge are not very far away from each other, if that makes any sense. And I'm gonna bring up in this other video, I'm gonna bring up a couple of examples with how I can have a far distance here and still get my hand closer, but that's a different topic. So imagine an ice pick and how efficiently an ice pick goes into material or removes material or something. Why is that? Because all of the power that goes into the chop are basically concentrated in one little point. Okay, so talking about an axe that is very efficient for wood processing rather than just wood carving, I want to have a rather, I have to say rather, in my opinion, shorter blade than a bearded blade with an upswept toe and a beard that goes down very far, and all of a sudden I have like 4 to 6 inches of blade length in a rather compact axe, you know. However, in order to achieve this rather short or like middle long blade on this hatchet, but still pack quite a lot of weight into this instead of only putting it into the pole, because the weight still has to be balanced. And now we're getting a little bit confusing here, but although I need a lot of weight in the axe, I cannot just put it in the pole or just into the blade. In order for it to be nicely balanced, I have to distribute it about 2/5 and 3/5 between my eye area and pole and the bit, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let's say again, I have a long distance here as well to put a little bit more material in here. So this distance is getting longer, which doesn't make it as stable for carving, but still maintains a lot of weight concentrated in a rather short blade. Okay, and this is now the end of this little excursion, but that's just one reason why this axe, in my opinion, has a very interesting and now my words are gone. And that's the reason why I think this axe has a very interesting compromise between an efficient axe for the woods and for the chores that await you in the woods, and the chores that await you whenever you need to build something or carve or craft something. Yesterday I was talking about this axe being so interesting because it brings my hand very, very close, and especially my index finger, which is very important for my hand-eye coordination, is my index finger. I'm not pointing at stuff with my pinky, at least not on a daily basis, but like my index finger is very important. I see that in traditional archery, I see that in trap shooting and shooting in general, and even in throwing something, you know, like an axe for example. My index finger is important for the hand-eye coordination. My index finger is also an interesting extension, or like rather an extension of my forearm, and my middle finger as well. So these are very important for me. So putting this finger right here and being right in the middle of the blade is a small detail, but these small details are coming in very interestingly and efficiently, I have to say, in this part. Not effectively, efficiently, when I want to use this. So first of all, my middle finger is in the middle of the blade, so that makes crafting and carving easier. So then demonstrating always carving with an axe like this and behaving like this is something we're doing all the time is actually bollocks, because I'm not doing that all the time at all, and I'm somebody who's carving with an axe a lot, as you guys know. And not just like in a bushcraft camp or something, no, but I'm like carving a lot of spoons, and I'm not trying to go into numbers going like I'm such a pro. I'm just saying I'm carving with an axe on a daily basis, and I hardly use an axe like this at all. However, at camp, if my knife fails or anything like this axe would be capable of rather fine tasks, as long as you're able to get this axe back to shaving sharp after you used it for wood chopping and for processing. You would in general, whatever you have to do at camp. So that's also why I said yesterday, bushcrafting for me is not only bushcrafting is not only identifying the tools that I need outside, but it's also choosing them for their efficiency, weight, and my ability to maintain them. And then in the moment when I'm able to do this, I actually can not only use this for carving or even doing my feather sticks, and there would always be a place where I can strike a ferro rod on this axe, for example, if I make it, if I put some kind of edge somewhere. But as well, and that's just appeared to me very recently, this would be a great Ulu style knife. It's just because my hand is really coming in the middle here. So and I'm absolutely distracted from this piece of wood right now, as you realize. So in a camp chore, I could absolutely see my hand being positioned like this being a very, very efficient Ulu style knife for processing game, for maybe even getting game out of the hide. That's a very European method, as far as I understand. Please correct me if I'm wrong. To actually punch the hide off an animal when skinning it. But with this kind of high convex grind that we have on here, I can really see this being very handy in camp, even for food preparation. Okay, that was a little bit clumsy. Let's get back to this piece of wood after getting distracted that badly. Okay, so being at this point here, and this not being like the hardest wood, I could go ahead chopping it like this, but actually I find it more efficient and easier to aim by just putting it on the far side of my chopping block, and just either go here or go together. So at this point here, I still like doing it like this. And with this axe and this wood, I don't even have to do the twist chopping, or rather splitting. If I have a bigger piece of wood, I will definitely try to still use it with two hands, which I can. A little bit of snap, and at the end, give it a little bit of twist just when you hit the wood. That's something that really needs to be practiced quite a little bit. Working it down into some kindling. We're trying to go small here. And I can work that down now really into pieces that are like match size, like you find in books like of Moscow Hansky, for example, when he's talking about how to prepare your tinder, or rather not your tinder but your kindling for a fire. It can go really, really small. Okay. There's usually a part of your hatchet or axe that you use quite a little bit more. I realized that in carving there would always be more damage to the lower part, or the middle to lower part, than to the upper part here. And you can just identify that part of your axe. And then it's very likely that even after some work you're still able to get quite a sharp part that gives you some pretty decent feather sticks. Could definitely do better after practicing with this axe a little bit longer. Put a couple of bigger ones here too. Actually like having smaller and bigger feathers on a stick like this. So we got some bigger ones here, but I'm pretty sure that some of the very fine stuff here would actually catch a spark. You see a lot of curls, that means we got some pretty fine shavings there. Yeah, and that's after actually using this axe for quite a little bit off camera. I'm pretty happy. This is absolutely bone dry cherry. Really, really hard wood, but this axe is biting it like crazy. It's a little bit of a different angle than with the curved handle. But although I have a convex grind on here, since it's a rather high convex, that I just dropped basically right behind the edge to give it a little bit of more convexing really on a micro bevel. It nearly feels, when I'm carving, like using a Scandi, or straight bevel rather. I rather want to call them straight bevels, because what we call a Scandi grind is used a lot in Scandinavia. We know it a lot from Scandinavian knives, but it's a grind used for woodworking really around the globe, so we should rather call it straight bevels.